Look at the door to the room you're in. It is, quietly, one of the strangest objects you own. Because for almost the entire time human beings have existed, that door did not. No door, no lock, no wall to hang it on. The ability to step into a room, shut it behind you, and simply vanish from everyone you know is not some basic human birthright. It is a recent invention, roughly as old as the bicycle, and we are only starting to find out what it does to us. We tend to think of privacy as a need, like food or sleep, something humans always wanted and finally got. It is closer to the truth to call it a technology, something we built. For about 300,000 years, our ancestors lived without it, and most of them would have found the very idea of wanting it deeply strange. Start with how people actually lived. For nearly all of human history, you belonged to a small band, somewhere around 30 people, almost all of them relatives. And you were not just near them, you were pressed against them. There were no separate rooms, because there were no rooms. There were no walls, because nothing anyone built was meant to outlast a season. You ate from the same fire. You moved as one body. And at night, you slept in a heap. That last part was not affection. It was physics. After dark, the temperature dropped. The fire had to be kept alive, and the black beyond the firelight was full of things that ate primates. Sleeping in a warm tangle of bodies was not cozy. It was the difference between waking up and not. A site in Israel called Ohalo 2 still holds shelters from 23,000 years ago that were barely big enough for a single family to lie down in, shoulder to shoulder. You could not turn over without moving someone else. For tens of thousands of years, that was simply what a night was. So if you wanted a private moment, a fight with your partner, a quiet cry, anything at all, there was no door to find. The whole machinery we now use for privacy, the wall, the lock, the empty room, did not exist. And yet people managed. They just did it backwards from the way we do. We get our privacy from materials, from brick and wood and distance. They got theirs from manners. Long before anyone built a private room, humans built a private agreement, an unspoken rule that some things are simply not noticed. Someone steps a little way past the firelight into the dark, and everyone, conveniently, is looking elsewhere. Someone needs to relieve themselves, walks off downwind, and nobody follows and nobody watches. Because the rule is that you do not. The darkness helped. So did a polite, deliberate blindness. You already know how this works, because you still do it every day. A packed elevator. A public restroom where everyone can hear everyone and all silently agree that they cannot. A tent on a camping trip where one person changes clothes and the others suddenly find the ceiling fascinating. That is the original privacy. Not a space with nobody in it, but a group of people agreeing, second by second, not to look. Privacy of the mind, invented long before privacy of the body was even possible. But here's the part that is genuinely hard for a modern person to feel. For most of our ancestors, being alone was not the prize. It was the threat. Out there, away from the group, your warmth was gone, your defense was gone, your food was gone. A single human alone on the ancient landscape was, in plain terms, a dead human who simply had not finished dying yet. This is why almost every old society saved its most terrifying punishment not for the body, but for belonging. Not execution, exile, being cast out. Sending someone off to live alone was very often just a slower way of killing them, and everyone involved understood it that way. So the wish to be alone, the thing we now build entire homes around, may have been close to meaningless. Some peoples who still live this way have no real word for privacy, not because the idea is too advanced for them, but because it answers a desire they were never taught to feel. Solitude, for almost everyone who has ever lived, was not peace. It was exposure. So where did the door come from? Follow the food. About 10,000 years ago, humans began to farm, and farming changed one simple thing. You had to stay put. A field has to be watched and watered in the same spot year after year. So for the first time, people built homes meant to outlast the season. Permanent homes have permanent walls. And a wall, it turns out, is the first half of a door. But even then, privacy did not arrive for everyone at once. It arrived the way most new things do, as a luxury. The first private rooms belonged to the powerful, a quiet sign that you mattered enough to be unwatched. For thousands of years after the wall was invented, the ordinary family still lived, ate, and slept in one shared room, often in one shared bed. The notion that an average child should have a bedroom of their own, a small private kingdom with a door that closes, is astonishingly new. In most of the world, it is barely 100 years old. Privacy went from a luxury to an expectation in about the span of a single long life, which leaves us somewhere our ancestors never stood.
In just a few generations, we have handed almost everyone the one thing that for 300,000 years was impossible, and for most of that time, unwanted. You can close a door. You can pass a day, a week, a month without being truly seen by another person. We treat this as obviously good, as freedom, and in plenty of ways it is. But it is worth remembering what we are actually doing. We are the first humans to run the experiment. We took a creature shaped by an unbroken history of never, not once, being alone, and we gave it walls and locks and the power to disappear. And then we are a little surprised when so many of us, sealed safely inside our private rooms, feel a kind of loneliness our ancestors never had a word for either. The door was a remarkable invention. We are still finding out what it cost.